Hi. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab whatever it is that you wish to drink. I have blueberry coffee with almond milk and caramel creamer. I use the almond milk in order to spread it a little bit more because I like my coffee with volume, because I like to try to get as much coffee as possible. And then I put a little bit of creamer just for flavor, or in this case added, or whatever. And I also have my water. I know that it's been a month since I've posted anything. It's been rough. I'm trying to fix things financially. That's a whole thing that I really can't get into. And just dealing with toxic crap. That has been rather draining and exhausting. Part of me is emotional about it, but at the same time, I have been emotional about it for the past like 13 and a half years. To the point that I had, my hand is fucking shaking. I had my final cry the other day. And that's when I realized that I was done. I had to block my friend of 14 years. In the past, I have put up boundaries because he wouldn't be an ass. He would start yelling at me or criticizing me on certain things, and it's like, if you can't treat me like a normal human being, then you can talk to me when you get your head out of your ass. And there hadn't been a couple of times where I had unfriended him. I've had him on mute for the past couple of months. So then because I used to have a trauma bond with him. Because just of the way that he would treat me. And I finally just started to break that a couple years ago. Like, it started to slowly chip away. And I started to see more clearly on just everything. And even 2 years ago, I told him straight up that if he was anybody else, I would have blocked him already because of the way that he treated me. But I still kept trying to give him chances. And I can't. I can't anymore, and that's the hard part. You know, the hard part is, the thing that makes it difficult for me is that I still do care and worry about him. But I have to be able to love and respect myself enough to say I'm done. And it's going to take a while in order to get over that. To stop worrying about him and how he's possibly feeling about the situation. And it's going to take a while to get the voices in my head that he has implanted in there to stop being so loud and to finally quiet down. Because hair. I don't want to say that he was doing it intentionally, because I don't think that that was the case. You know, it wasn't like with my ex, where my ex would pretty much sit around and plot. You know, how can I trigger her? How can I make her upset? What can I say to get a reaction off her? That's not what I'm saying. Yeah, he's not like that. It's just, even when I brought up how he treated me, I got told how I hurt him. And the contrast between the way that he treated me and the way that I treated him doesn't make that, like, it. I don't really know how I could have upset him. I mean, I know that I told him that I didn't like his ex-fiance. And it turned out that, you know, a couple of years later, that she was part of the reason for why he almost unalived himself twice, a year apart. So it's one of those, I'm sorry if that upset you, but apparently I was still right. But at the same time, I also realized that this is his life and his decisions, and I told him that multiple damn times. It's one of those, I don't agree with it, but it's your life and your decision, so I can't control what you do. But just know that I'm having these feelings. And I got told that I was jealous. I wasn't jealous, and I was right, but okay. The first time that I met him, I picked out a vitamin water because at the time I was very much into vitamin waters, and he criticized that. He criticized the soy milk that I had in the fridge for my oldest son who has a milk allergy. So he also criticized the fact that I don't take my coffee black. And he was very adamant about that I shouldn't take my coffee black and not add anything to it. And this is just the minuscule things. For years, I would try to have conversations with him after there was an event that happened 13 and a half years ago that caused him to want space, which I fully understood and supported because of what happened and the person that he had lost. But then after that, he spiraled hard, which again I understood, but looping back to when I would try to have conversations with him, every conversation ended with him yelling at me for something. It didn't matter what I tried to talk to him about, he'd end up yelling at me, and I'd sit there at the computer crying, wondering why he hated me. Because I was trying to love and support him. Like, he could talk to me about, you know, he's ADHD, and which is fine. I'm not saying that's wrong, because it's not, but, like, he'd come up and start a conversation about whatever the hell he wanted, and I'd stop everything that I was doing so then he could feel heard and seen and supported. You know, if I even had a negative thought about something, I kept it to myself, because, like, one of his biggest things is wanting to go live out on a boat right now and travel the world. And my main thing is, what if you drown? What if you get diseases? You know, what if you bring diseases with you to wherever the hell that you're going, there are certain things that you can end up with, and it's just like a whole array of things, but I didn't bring any of these up so then he wouldn't feel loved and supported. He was usually the more logical of the two of us, so it's just like, okay, fine, I'll just trust him in whatever it is that he wants to do. But it just... he could have talked about anything, and I would support him. Or he even vented about things that were going on, and it's like, okay, cool. So I tried to, he'd finish with whatever he was talking about, so I tried to talk too. Like a normal fucking friendship. And all of a sudden, I was trying to take the attention away from him. I was trying to make the conversation about me, and it's just like, I'm trying to talk to you like a normal human being. You said your bit, why can't I add on to the conversation? Or if I tried to initiate a conversation with him, he'd get upset because I was bugging him. I'm sorry for fucking bothering you. It's like, he can start a conversation, he could say what he wanted to say, but if I tried, I just, no. And that went on for years. The only time that he really gave me attention was when certain sensitive topics were essentially part of the conversation. That was it. And beyond that, I didn't hear from him. I can't remember the last time I got a, hey, how are you? It was always me asking him, hey, how are you? How are you doing? That was okay. That was an okay way in order to start a conversation, because if I just started in with whatever it is that he wants, that I want to talk about, it just, no. And then when my ex decided to up and abandon us the way that he did, I spiraled, as any person in a trauma bond with a covert narcissist would. And I got told that I was emotionally dumping into his lap, which made me just basically learn how to survive without him, because it was one of those, okay, well, fine, then I'm not gonna come to you like a normal friend would. But when his own relationship fell apart, when he ended up spiraling a year later, I was on a video call with him until 1:30 in the morning. Now I've got kids. I also had a job at that point in order to help support those kids. And I'm watching him spiral, and I'm trying to contact, and succeeded in contacting a friend that he grew up with that I don't know, just to make sure that he had someone locally to him, because he's 4.5 hours away from me, to make sure that he was okay, that he had someone to turn to in his own damn town that he could talk to. And I'm not trying to have a competition. I'm not trying to compete as to who, was the better friend, but it was definitely one-sided. He would get mad at me for what I posted on my own Facebook. to the point that I had to put the settings as he couldn't see them. And I literally asked him, I'm like, what the fuck is your problem? It's my Facebook. Why are you upset about what I post? Just... And then, because I have a family wound and I was born out of wedlock. And my family is full of hypocrites. Okay? That's to, like, the majority of my maternal line on my mother's side, they kind of disowned me because of the fact that I was born out of wedlock, like, pretty much as soon as I popped out my mother. I didn't get my first hug from my grandmother until I was 30. Even though, and the bullshit part was that my mother, my stepdad, the one that, took his own life when I was 13, from the time that I was about 4 or 5 until I was about 9.5, we lived 2 buildings down from them in the same apartment complex. And every time that I tried to go over there, they wouldn't let me. They eventually told Mom that they didn't want me around. Then I got told after she died that it was because my grandfather had stuff around and whatnot that they didn't want me to get hurt in. But yet the rare times that we did go over there, they had coloring books and toys for my cousins who lived across town. And then my uncle also yelled at me at 11 o'clock at night, telling me that, my grandmother loved me very much. And it's like, they wanted it to take her 30 years in her to hug me. No. And that uncle, I had tried to talk to on the phone 8 years prior. He was too busy playing a video game. He said that he would call me later. Later became 8 years later, and that was the phone call that I got, was yelling at me because of my feelings towards my grandmother. I was still upset over the fact that she died and that I didn't get to know her. I didn't even know her favorite color until a cousin that I don't even know told me that it was purple. In case you're wondering where my grandfather was in all this, he died January 15th of 2003. Yeah. Because it was supposed to be for my high school orientation. Instead of going to the orientation, we went to the hospital because he had a massive stroke. And I got to be the one in order to make the fucking call as to whether to pull him off a life support or not. At 14 years old. Because the room full of adults couldn't make the damn decision because they didn't want to be the ones in order to end his life. That man had always had a tan of some sort. And his skin was great when we showed up, and he had dry blood underneath his nose. He had head wrenched. And I told a room full of adults that there was no point in keeping him on life support because he was already dead. They were only supporting a corpse. And my aunt, who was married into the family, decided to say that I was brave for making that call. And it's like, why does a 14-year-old have to make that call in a room full of adults? Shouldn't have been that way. And of course, my aunt that my grandmother babysat for, the only thing that she was worried about was who was going to pay her bills. My mother is not the problem. my mother always wanted me from the time that I was conceived, which I am grateful for. Even if I am an ass at times. But back to my friend. So I had started to research my ancestry because of the fact that I didn't know them. Even on my father's side, my father was a raging alcoholic, an abusive alcoholic. So my time with him was extremely limited. I don't even know what age I was the last time that I saw him, but I never met the man at an age to where I could remember. I probably would have been less than a year old the last time I saw him. I don't remember. My mother got told that if she hadn't went back to that man, she'd never get me back. Because I haven't been in DCF twice. Because of him. So she never went back. So I had his side that I wanted to research. I had my mother's side that I wanted to research. And so I started digging on, Ancestry.com. It's not the most trusted site, but it was something. And I got yelled at that for that too. Because why the fuck should it matter on, who my ancestors were when I shouldn't worry about the present? Maybe because it's my fucking feelings and they're still valid. It should be okay for me to research my own family and find answers that I would like to know. And that's how I found out that my ancestors, my great-grandmother and my great-grandfather on my mother's side, migrated out of Norway in 1930. Supposedly, my grandfather, the one that she was married to, was born in Denmark, and he is an extremely hard man to find. He is no longer here, but I mean his family line. Because it stops with him, and I can't go any further without paying an arm and leg left it, and even when I did, I still couldn't find him. Maybe the location's wrong, I don't know. I don't have those answers. But my great-grandmother's line goes back even further to things that are controversial and that I will not bring up because I shouldn't be yelled at for this. I will say that I did find out on my mother's dad's side. You go a little bit down the male end, about 2 or 3 back, and then you go down the female line, and there is a Mary Sanford who was executed in Connecticut on June 13th, 1662. As part of the Connecticut witch trials that I never knew existed. I didn't know she did either. Her husband was also accused alongside her. He was acquitted and moved to Milford. When I first found her, she was considered my 10th great-grandmother. Although she is my 11th, because it was confusing to try and figure it out, but I did. The reason for why it got confused was because they had a child also named Mary Sanford. So the Mary Sanfords got confused. So, but I fixed it. It's fixed. But yes, I got yelled at for researching my own family line. Posting on my own Facebook, starting conversations, just about any interest that I had, I did it wrong. If I wasn't doing it his way, I was doing it wrong. He always had something negative to say. He was never supportive in whatever it is that I wanted to do. And I just, after 2 years of trying to convince him of the way that he had been treating me, upsetting me, never being supportive, basically not even being a good friend, I got fed up and I blocked him. He does have my phone number, so if he has the balls enough, he'll try. And of course, knowing him, he won't. But it doesn't matter if it's family, if it's friends. It doesn't matter how long you've known someone. If they do not respect you, if they do not love you despite what they tell you, it's okay to cut them off. It is okay not to say, this is enough. It is okay to respect and love yourself enough more than the person that you're dealing with, and to cut things off. And it doesn't matter what they say or what they do. If they try to fight you on it. Doesn't matter. Because the right people will love you no matter what. You can have your asshole moments and they'll still love you. Sometimes you have to... I know people get mad at this saying about, everything happens for a reason. I do personally believe that. But that's me. Because if I didn't experience the things that I did, I wouldn't have learned the lessons that I did. In every aspect of my life. So, you have to be brave enough to stand up for yourself. To set up that boundary and to enforce it. Because you can only compromise so much. You try to compromise with a person as any normal human being should, because compromises are still good. But when you start compromising yourself, that's where you got to kind of stop and cut it off. And just say, I've given enough. So... hopefully you learn something from my mistakes, because that's part of why I have started these types of videos. Just nobody's perfect, but still gotta at least be a decent human being and respect each other.